We've officially entered it, ladies and gentlemen. Retail hell, holiday craziness, whatever that you want to call it. The season is upon us, and it also means that here on the Cover Killer Nation channel, it's a season of lists. Welcome to the top 15. That's right, we've expanded this list as well. Pop rock, alternative, rap, basically everything that is not under the heavy metal classification. Best album of the year list. And there's a couple that you're probably wondering why you're not going to see. I'm already going to get these out of the way. That way you guys know not to expect them. Where's Yeezus from Kanye West? Where's Magna Carta Holy Grail by Jay-Z? Listen to them both. They weren't good enough to get onto the list. I didn't find them to be the masterpieces that so many other people did. Sorry, that's just the way that things kind of work out, man. What about Fall Out Boy? What about, Panic at the Disco, Sleeping with Sirens? Please, are you fucking kidding me? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen. So sorry. So sorry. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the list instead of talking about all the things that's not on it, because if I do that all this video, you're going to be able to assume what is on it before I even tell you what's on it. So we're going to go first with number 15, Jake Bugg with his self-titled album. Jake Bugg is a newcomer out of the English scene that basically is able to drive some very cool little songwriting with some excellent both acoustic and a little bit of electric every so often. We were going to see that a little bit more with his second album because he released two albums this year. However, this first one's mostly acoustically driven. It's got some terrific songwriting on it. This isn't like a singer-songwriter fedora, neckbeard gentleman. No. This is a little bit more of that old school, old-style English rock that you've heard for, so many decades and that have been treasured by so many people. Really, really cool album. Highly recommend it. I definitely see Jake Bugg being a huge, huge impact on the future of that scene right there. Number 14, Pearl Jam with Lightning Bolt. Man, oh man, the boys are back, and this is definitely, easily, their best album in quite some time. Backspacer was okay, don't get me wrong. However, the couple of previous albums before that were really hit or miss. Lightning Bolt comes back with absolutely the fury of a lightning bolt, and certainly is one that is able to showcase why Eddie Vedder still has one of the most talented voices in the world, and why this band still continues to show themselves as potentially 2013's version of Bruce Springsteen, even though Bruce Springsteen isn't dead. It's crazy. Speaking of Bruce, he has a new album coming out in 2014. If you remember how much his last album, Wrecking Ball, did on this list a couple of years back, you'll know that I'm stoked about that. Number 13, Lord with Pure Heroin. This is a debut album. This is a first album, a premiere. And I did not expect to enjoy this album as much as I did, because the song Royals, I didn't get it. I didn't understand why it was such a big hit. It doesn't make any sense why this song went to number 1. But maybe that's the reason why it went to number 1, because it doesn't make sense, because it's a song that shouldn't go to number 1. So, of course, it's going to. Excuse me. Terrible part about it is that it's the worst song on the album for me. For me, it's the absolute worst song on the album, because the rest of the album is tremendous. This is one you have to really experience to understand. Number 12, The Game with Jesus Peace. I know this was technically released in December of 2012. However, this was after I had already made the list for 2012, so it is now part of 2013. Does that make sense? Because it should. Wow, this is a really, really awesome release. I understand why so many people were hyped up about this, and why this was getting high marks from all sorts of different reviewers, all sorts of different individuals, and all sorts of different people. This is when I hype up to a lot of individuals. This is West Coast rap at its finest. This is definitely a manifesto that is going to be very, very hard for The Game to top whenever his next release comes out. But hopefully for the benefit of all of us that enjoy a little bit of hip-hop in our lives every so often, he's able to do so. But it's going to be one hell of a climb, because this album is just that damn good. Number 11, Serj Tankian with Jazz is Christ. Definitely a big-time surprise this year. This is a jazz album from Serj Tankian, so of course it's awesome. It should be awesome, and it was awesome. And this is one where you should have absolutely no doubt. The hardest thing that you're going to have is finding this son of a gun. It's definitely difficult to locate. However, it's one that's worth the search, because Serj's interpretation of jazz music is certainly one of the most unique ones out there. He's able to use conventional methods, but at the same time also add his specific blend and his unique mind to it. And basically, he's just doing everything right now. He wrote a symphony. He's been in System of a Down. He did some really great solo albums. He's going to do other weird stuff that we only know about through legend and, practical, joke or, whatever it may be. We don't know very much of what's going to happen next, but it's going to happen next, and it's going to be really, really good. You can almost guarantee it. This was awesome. And Serj, hi, how you doing, man? Number 10, Elvis Costello and the Roots, Wise Up Ghost. Speaking of surprises, here's another one. Who would have thought that Elvis Costello would team up with the Roots? Who would have thought that Elvis Costello teaming up with the Roots was going to be fucking awesome? If you answered yes to either of those questions, either A, you're lying, or B, you're smarter than us all, and I know which one you guys are going to be choosing out of those two. Now, here's the thing. This is this is definitely a collaboration that should work, in theory, considering Elvis has a very interesting, unique take, a unique voice. He's got he's one of the best voices that we've probably gotten over the past couple of decades, and it just doesn't, it's something that doesn't register with everybody because his sound and his tone is very different, but it has its certain element, its certain rugged value to it. And with the Roots, they're just solid musicians that are able to bring so much to the whole game and to the whole table. And you put those two together, and it should be a match made in heaven. And guess what? It sure as hell was. Definitely check this one out. Number 9, we have David Bowie with The Longest Day. David Bowie returns after a long absence, hides the fact that he's returning, and then just returns. And the album is fantastic. Should we be surprised? I don't think we should be surprised. Were we surprised? A lot of us were. This is still classic Bowie weirdness with a little bit of a newer edge to it, and I really, really liked the way in which he was able just to slap a big, censor bar over the Heroes artwork and just throw The Next Day over it. It was kind of a unique little idea. It almost seems lazy to some people, but I really like that because it's just kind of a way to say, hey, I'm still here. I know that I'm known for this, and I'm going to be known for this one, too. I'm going to be known for The Next Day. Or almost like saying this is the next day after the hero becomes a hero. There's so many ways that you can take this. It's crazy. Let's go with number 8. Number 8 is the Arctic Monkeys with AM. A lot of people will probably be like, really? Wow, you put the Arctic Monkeys on your list? Are you insane? No, I'm not, because AM is a fucking awesome record. These guys have really just been steadily getting better and better as things go on and as years pass, and their last album was called Suck It and See, which is just kind of funny to me, and I really dig that. But with AM, this is just some really, really good stuff that's getting a lot of recognition. There's a radio play for one of their singles right now, and every single time it comes on, I just immediately think of the Black Keys. I remember whenever Tighten Up was big. I remember, Little Black Submarines and different songs that have come ever since Tighten Up and ever since they've exploded, and just kind of the reaction, the warmness that they got from that song. And you know what? I feel it again. I feel like the Arctic Monkeys are going to once again really get a resurgence of popularity through this album, and it's definitely one that's well qualified because this is certainly one of their best to date. Number 7, we have Queens of the Stone Age with Like Clockwork. Some of you will probably be insulted that it's this list, or this low on the list. Well, sorry. The Kings of Weird return. I just love these guys. These guys are really, really awesome. This is a great album. This is one that was highly anticipated and definitely delivered. It was one that I never got the opportunity to do a formal review of, and that's going to continue. I did it in Rock City, and I know that nobody watched Rock City, which shame on you. But yeah, this is a really good album, and you should certainly investigate it. Number 6, we have Alter Bridge with Fortress. Speaking of things that I've never really paid attention to, Alter Bridge was one of them. Who knew that if you took, all of Creed except for Scott Stapp and put someone else in Scott Stapp's place, they would be just an incredible band. Talk about looking at unresolved and unrealized potential for so many different years. I mean, don't get me wrong, Scott Stapp is not that bad of a singer. He's not that bad of a vocalist, but damn, the dynamics that this album really offered, the heaviness that it offers, and really this is an album where you feel genuinely everything that's going on. It's not something where you feel like you're being either preached at or, yelled at. It's instead one where you really feel that every single note that's being hit, whether it be high, whether it be low, whether it be a very loud register or a soft one, has a place, has a direct purpose, and it's something that's helping shape and shift and convey your emotion through it. That is the mark of a great album. That is the mark of a tremendously talented bunch that just continue to get better. Wow. Sleeping on this band? Bad mark. Bad Cover Killer Nation. Bad me for saying my name on air. Shit. Let's go on. Number 5, Daft Punk with Random Access Memories. People will shit on me for this and they can fuck themselves. This is an awesome album. Basically combines two things that I love in the one album. Daft Punk and disco. Yeah, closet disco case. Love the Bee Gees. Love all sorts of shit. I have such a wide variety, such a wide base. There's some funk in here. You know, there's just that danceable stuff. Lose Yourself to Dance. Get Lucky was definitely the song of the summer. 100%. Instant Crush is another one. This is just such a unique album, and it's definitely one that Daft Punk fans were a little shaken by because it was something that was pretty different. It was pretty crazy. But it was definitely an album that also gave a breath of fresh air to the whole idea. I almost feel as though if Daft Punk had done a traditional-based album, an album that they had just, kind of redid Homework and made Homework Part 2, it wouldn't have been as good. I wouldn't have even given a shit to put it on the list. But because they went out there, they explored and really did something different and wild and crazy and just, really explored, that's the reason why this album became such a massive, massive hit and became a cultural phenomenon, because it was something that channeled into a part of us that perhaps we hadn't experienced or felt for quite some time. Something that we all pretty much knew about with the idea of disco, for example, but something that we didn't always just randomly channel. This is really, really awesome. I love this album. If you don't, well, that's your opinion, but in my opinion, your opinion sucks. Number 4. Eminem with the Marshall Mathers LP. Number 2, who sucks at giving information about albums that involve characters that were killed off in previous albums? This guy. Oh well, shit happens. The point of the matter is that this is a phenomenal, phenomenal return for Eminem. He decides to go back to that whole, idea of going back to an old album with Marshall Mathers LP. Here on the second one, he has a much different flow, not to mention his subject matter is a little bit different. But man, oh man, the maturity is on leaps and bounds. There's a song where he apologizes to his mom, which is something that has garnered a lot of personal attention. And then there's Rap God. Rap God is easily one of the best rap songs that I have heard in a long, long time. The flow on this is absolutely ridiculous. The way in which it's, been constructed, the way in which the verse has been kind of nailed down, and the wordplay that is used is absolutely top-notch. Eminem, welcome back. You're on the top of your game once again, brother. Damn. Check this one out. I don't care if you don't like rap. You're going to like this album. I almost guarantee it. Number 3, Portugal the Man with Evil Friends. My lord. Portugal the Man plus Danger Mouse equals number 3 album. Actually, what it actually equals is awesome. This is an absolute collaborative dream for me, basically, because Portugal has always been a very, very tight, very, very awesome group that has just always felt like they're just one step away from having a legitimate breakout. And teaming up with Danger Mouse definitely feels like it's given them that opportunity and given them that option, and I really feel that it's kind of happened, but not really. It's not something where it's been kind of as instantaneous as other bands, and I really think that that's a shame, because this is a band that truly and 100% deserves it. This is very, very driven indie rock that has a little bit of a harder edge to it, but still is very independently minded, and still just, they're able to really craft beauty in this album, but they're also able to craft a beast. Just think about the title, Evil Friends, and think about all the different influences that you can cite with this, and it's just a really, really awesome experience that I highly recommend for everybody out there to really undertake. This is an album also that you can usually find for like $10, so definitely pick it up. Number 2, The Arcade Fire with Reflector. Number 2, what can I say? It's a 2-disc set. It was definitely a surprise to hear how this band has grown ever since The Suburbs. And it was very ironic considering, once again, they were dethroned at the number 1 position from Eminem for the 2nd straight year. It happened with The Suburbs and Recovery. It happens with Reflector and the Marshall Mathers LP too. I guess those two just really can't stay away from one another. But they're able to add some Caribbean and some Cuban influences, which is based around one of the members' homelands. They're also able to really take up all of the things that they've done previously a notch, and kind of amp up a little bit of the you would almost call it a dance pop kind of idea to it, but at the same time staying very, very aware of this album. You can really see some simplistic ideas on here, but you also see some complex vintages. And whenever you have an album that has a song called Porno on it and the song delivers, you're always going to be doing something right. Secondly, if you have a song called Joan of Arc, who the fuck writes a song about Joan of Arc? And, when is it ever one of the best songs on the album? Well, it is in this case, and that's the reason. Actually, it's one of many reasons why this album is number 2 on this list. It's massive in scope, it's tremendous in build, not to mention the execution is flawless. It's definitely an album that is worth your exploration. And that brings us to number 1. Number 1 is something that I have to talk about in a certain way, so I'm going to go into it by just telling you what it is. The 2020 Experience Part 1, only Part 1, by Justin Timberlake. If I combine the two, it would feel unfair because the two albums are kind of like night and day at some points in time. It's still pop music, don't get me wrong. However, they are like night and day. The way in which I describe it is that part one is the suit part, the second part is the, suit off part. Part one is the part where Justin Timberlake is trying to woo somebody in a club or at a fancy party, an establishment. And in part number two, he's basically trying to seduce the clothes off of her. So basically, talking up, trying to fuck. But at any rate, this first album, a lot of people complained that the songs were too long. A lot of people complained that there was a little bit of unnecessary filler and stuff on here. I have to highly disagree with this. Even though there are moments where some of these songs feel like they're going a little bit nowhere, it does feel as though it has a lot of importance in sort of driving everything that's about to come afterwards. It's almost like it's giving you and taunting you. It's giving you a reason to keep on listening on because you're wondering what's going to happen next. You're tempted just to hit that button, but you're almost afraid that if you do that, you're going to miss something else. And in some cases, you actually do. These are lengthy tracks, don't get me wrong, but these are also done extremely well because JT is able to explore a lot of different ideas, including some African rhythm that's kind of blended with a little bit of like Mexican salsa. It's kind of crazy how he's able to blend this together. And then one of the worst parts for me is hearing the very last song, Blue Ocean Floor. I mean, it's not a bad song at all. It's definitely one of the most creative songs on the album. In fact, one of the noises on that song sounds to me like the noise that after you snap a picture with an old Polaroid camera, whenever you hear the actual picture coming out of the slot. That's kind of what it makes me think about, this noise, even though it's probably not what that is. Suit and Tie was a huge single. Of course, Mirrors was also a huge single. Really, just about anything on this album could have been a single, and it would have done phenomenally. Push Your Love Girl is great. Wow. And that's why it's number one. Number two, part number two, didn't even make the list. It tried, but it tried too hard. And there you have it. Top 15 pop / rock / blah 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 here in 2013. And I think this is the first time in history that a pop album has topped a list on a Cover Killer Nation list. So congratulations to Justin Timberlake. Congratulations to everybody who is on the list. And I'll see all of you guys next year where hopefully I'll cover a lot more of this stuff because you'll want me to. And you're going to tell me what you're looking forward to in 2014 down in the comments.